Hello and welcome to the Masterclass, 5 Ways to Increase Your Take-Home Pay. I am so excited to get started. This is going to be full of valuable information for you. My name is Megan Nas. I'm a CPA, online business owner, and I teach female coaches and course creators who are making $30K or more how to increase their profits and manage their money so they can consistently pay themselves a 4-figure monthly salary without having to work more hours or wait for their next big launch. And I'm going to give you a ton of useful action steps and tips in this masterclass. If you have questions, feel free to send me an email. My email is on this screen. It's megan@megnas.com. And I do have some really great freebies for you that I'm going to talk about in this masterclass. And if you stick around to the end, I will give you the link on how to access those. It's going to make a lot of what I talk about today really simple and easy for you to implement. All right, let's get started. Before we start, I want you to turn off your phone, close any other tabs, and get rid of any distractions that you have. I know it's so easy to, see those notifications pop up on your phone, and I actually had to turn on my do not disturb so that I don't get distracted as well. And I also want you to grab a pen and a notebook. You're gonna wanna take notes in this masterclass. There's going to be so much useful information that you will be able to implement. I'm gonna give you a ton of information, but also a lot of action steps, because I truly believe that in order to take action, you need to have a clear instruction on how to do it, and that's what I'm gonna show you today. So think about this. Have you ever felt frustrated because even though you're making money in your business, you still feel like you're struggling to create consistency around what you're paying yourself? I find this to be a very common theme with a lot of the business owners that I work with, is their revenue is not really consistent, and so their pay is not consistent. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about this today. So does this sound familiar? You want to pay yourself more from your business without working more hours or under the stress of a launch. I know you have a ton on your plate already, and the answer to pay yourself more from your business isn't necessarily to work more hours. Thank goodness. You're only paying yourself the bare minimum because you're not sure how much you're actually going to earn in the next week or the next month, and it gives you a little bit of anxiety. So you're not paying yourself what you really want to. You're keeping all of your money in your business account in hopes that you don't have to, use it in the future, and you're just unsure of what to do with your money. And you've heard about maximizing your profit and why it's important, but you're not sure where to get started. I know that I have personally seen a lot of posts recently about maximizing profit, but nobody really goes into why it's important and how that directly relates to you and what you're paying yourself. So what you're going to learn today, the 5 things that we're going to cover today, is very first, how to increase your profit and why it's the very first place to start if you want to increase your take-home pay without having to work more hours. There are 2 ways to increase your profit, like getting more revenue or cutting your expenses. And I'm going to talk about focusing on your expenses and your outflows in this masterclass because it's so easy to do and you are truly in control of all of it. Step 2, it's great to know what your business actually needs for expenses so you can know what you can afford to pay yourself and you don't accidentally pay yourself too much money and then screw your finances. So we're going to hit on knowing what your business requires for expenses so you don't accidentally pay yourself too much and cause problems in your business. Step 3 is why you need to save for taxes consistently and how this is going to help you make it so much easier to pay yourself more from your business and consistently from your business. It's really easy to get scared about taxes and hold on to as much money as you need to because you don't know what you're going to pay or you don't know what you're going to need to have. And so you don't pay yourself anything. And I'm going to show you a really simple way to start saving for taxes consistently so you can know exactly what you can actually afford to pay yourself from your business. 4th is kind of piggybacking on taxes, is to make sure that you're not paying more to taxes than you actually need to. I'm going to show you how to maximize your tax opportunities and deductions so that you can save money on taxes. And more money saved on taxes equals more money for you. So it's a direct correlation. Step 5, lastly, we're going to talk about how creating a schedule around your money will actually help you pay yourself consistently without working more and even between launches. And I can personally attest to this. I'm going to share with you how this affects me in my business. And I know it's something that will definitely affect you in your business. So before we dig in, I do want to share a little bit about me so you can see how what I'm going to teach you is so easy and how it can really change your business. I won't spend a ton of time talking about me because that's not why you're here, but just bear with me for a few slides here. So back in 2015, I had been in public accounting for almost 10 years. And after I had my oldest daughter in 2015, I just decided I did not want to go back to working for someone else and being on someone else's schedule. I wanted the freedom and flexibility that owning my own business would allow me. It was a little bit challenging at first, though. I went from a really steady, predictable paycheck with my husband to, a 2-income household going down to a 1-income household. And when I started my business, I really was doing a lot of tax work, and that was the majority of my income. So in the spring, I had, the same amount of money that I had when I had my job. So I had a lot of money and I was like, this is great. But after tax season, I didn't have as many tax returns to do. So my income really dropped off. And the mistake that I made was I paid myself money when I had it. And then by October, I was actually excited for tax season, if you can believe that. And I can guarantee you that CPAs usually aren't excited for tax season, but I was living in this feast to famine cycle and I needed to get out of it. So I struggled with paying myself more than I needed when I had money and not so much when I didn't. It was like, if I had money, I paid myself. And if I didn't have money, I didn't pay myself. And I also was paying myself what was left over in my business instead of focusing on paying myself first. And that's really common and really easy to do. You take care of everyone else and everything else, and then you're essentially waiting for crumbs at the end of the table. And it's like, you have to change your mindset a little bit because you're worth more than that and you deserve to get paid first from your business. And I knew with my tax background that I needed to save for taxes, that I needed to, I knew almost, within $100 how much money I was going to owe at the end of the year. But it sucked to save for taxes, when I knew that my income was only coming in at a certain time. And I was like, well, I'll just make it up later. And so it was really easy to push off my tax savings and what I knew I would need for taxes because I really wanted the money right now. And I did not have a good system for saving for taxes. I finally figured out a better way, thankfully, and I really focused on increasing my profit and started using a repeatable system to not only pay myself so I could take the money that I earned during tax season and spread it out all year for what I was bringing home for my salary. And I didn't have to work more hours in order to do that. I just had to be a little bit more strategic with my money and how I was managing it. Today, honestly, the biggest shift is that I feel in control of my money. I can look at my bank accounts and know exactly how much I have and what is the purpose for that money at a glance of like logging into my bank account. And I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm going to show you how you can do it too. And it's really simple. Just a quick testimonial. When I started working with Natasha, she said that she was horrified to tackle her money since she started her business. And after working together with me, she's truly transformed the way she thinks about her finances for her business. And she is set up on a schedule now where she is consistently saving for taxes. And we just had a meeting not very long ago where she was paying herself consistently, but we bumped it up. And now she's paying herself even more from her business. And none of what we went over was based on the fact that I said, hey, you need to work more and generate more revenue. It was just little tweaks and being strategic with her money. So if you're feeling like this about your money right now, I totally get it. A lot of business owners do. And it can be scary to think about money. You don't want to mess anything up, especially when we're talking about taxes and the IRS. But I promise I can help you go from this to feeling like this. Kramer's the best. I love this little GIF. I think it's awesome. So I had to throw it in here. So you will feel like this by the time that we're done. So where do we start? Let's go ahead and dig into the details and get started with the juicy stuff. So very first is how to increase your profit and why it's the first place to start if you want to increase your take-home pay without having to work more hours. This is really important. And if you're in a spot where you feel like your money's tight and you're struggling to pay yourself, or you're struggling to save for taxes because you're like, I just don't have any money left, this is going to be an excellent exercise for you. This is going to help you increase your profit right now without having to go and chase more sales. So I highly recommend doing the steps that I'm going to tell you about today. So when I'm talking about profit, what I'm talking about is your business income, the money that's coming in from your coaching or your course sales. I'm also talking about expenses. This does not include any money that you're paying to yourself currently. Your expenses are things like your monthly subscriptions, your email, your Canva, your Dubsado, like all of that stuff, like your general business expenses. So income minus expenses equals profit. And profit is what is available for you to take a salary. And it's also available for you to save for taxes, to build a business savings and stuff like that. So profit is really important. A lot of time it's easy to get focused on revenue and think, oh, I need to make $100,000 or I need to make, $150,000. But if you're not also focusing on profit, you could be making a ton of money, but also spending a ton of money to make that and still be scraping by. And I have personally seen this where people are generating a lot of revenue and still struggling to pay themselves. So what I want you to do, these are some action steps. We are just 15 minutes into this and I'm giving you some massive action steps right now. So what you need to do is look at the last 12 months of your bank and credit card statements. Another way to do this would be pull up a 12-month profit and loss statement for your business and look at the details of every single expense. And I want you to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. And then I want you to label each of the expenses, which are necessary for your business to run. What do you absolutely have to have? And then which expenses can you find cheaper alternatives for? I just put a couple of examples in here, like your phone, your lead pages, like ConvertKit. Like, does your email platform also have a landing page that you could use? Are any of your softwares that you're using kind of overlapping in what they provide? Can you consolidate it into one? One quick thing that I do want to share with you, because it has been awesome for me, is my phone. I use Verizon on my cell phone, and I had a normal plan, not a ton of data, nothing crazy, and it was like $90 a month. And I switched over last year to a prepaid plan. So I sell my same phone number. I actually have more data, and because it's considered a prepaid plan, and I pay it automatically with my credit card every month, they just charge me. It actually is half. So I was paying $90 and I'm paying $45 a month for a cell phone with twice the amount of data, and it's the same exact thing on my end. So if you have a cell phone plan, I highly encourage you to go and see if you can find a cheaper alternative for that. And then the last thing that I want you to label on your expenses is which expenses aren't necessary for you to reach your long-term goals. Like if you want to have a goal to pay yourself $5,000 a month, are you incurring any expenses that aren't really helping you generate more revenue and build your business? That's just taking money out of your pocket. A really common one that I see is like a Spotify subscription. I know it's only $10 a month, but if you multiply $10 a month times 12, that's $120. And if you do that for Spotify and any additional subscriptions that you have or expenses that you're paying for that you don't need, those combined savings truly add up to a lot of money. I worked with a client actually we started in May, so more than a year ago. And we went through this exercise and he was not thrilled about having to spend all this time going through 12 months of bank and credit card statements. And he thought he'd find maybe a couple $100 in savings. And at the end of him going through everything, he found over $6,000 in savings. So this can be a significant impact to the profit in your business. And if you're diligent about it and try to do this maybe once a year, then you're in control of your money and where it's being spent. And I have a lot of clients that I work with who are like, oh yeah, I saw that on my credit card statement, I'll deal with it next time. And then they don't. So this is a perfect time to sit down and take care of this and see if you can free up any money that can go back into your business, back to you as pay. So after you figure out anything that you've saved from like a monthly subscription, I want you to multiply it by 12 so you can see an annual savings. So you will see the impact of this exercise right away when you start doing it, but you're going to see more of the impact as the months go on and you're not incurring those extra expenses. You can also do this in your personal, with your personal finances and save a lot of money as well. Just a quick side note though, if you are increasing your profit by doing this and eliminating expenses, you also would be increasing your taxable income. So you just need to make sure that you're saving for taxes the way that you should be. I'm going to touch on this soon to help you, so don't stress about that too much right now. Okay, the last thing that I want you to do with this is to look at any annual subscriptions that you have. So like for me, I have my CPA license, I have business insurance, I have a couple other things that are just one time a year. And what you should do is put a reminder in your calendar 30 days ahead of when those annual subscriptions are renewing, so that you have a chance to look at them and see if you really are still using that program, that software, if you really still need to incur that expense. This helps you be proactive with your money and make changes ahead of time rather than seeing a charge come through your credit card and being like, oh, I didn't really need that this year, but I'll deal with it later. I'm going to give you a checklist for labeling your expenses and the way that I just talked about, whether they were necessary or not, at the end of the masterclass. So stick around. I'm going to give you a really good guide on how to label those to get the max information after looking through those 12 months worth of expenses. All right, step 2, know what your business requires for expenses so you don't accidentally pay yourself too much and screw something up in your business. It's really important to know what your business requires as outflows, as expenses. Annually is great, but it's also really good to look at it monthly, because you might have some of those annual subscriptions to where you have more money going out in certain times of the month than less. So what I want you to do, I guess, let me back up a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself. So when you're looking at your expenses, you have 3 different types that I want you to consider. You have your monthly recurring expenses. Those are the same every single month. They're very similar every single month. You have annual or semi-annual expenses. We kind of talked about that a little bit before. And then you have one-time expenses. This is if you are currently paying for a coach and you're not going to next year. If you're going to travel to a conference and you're not going to next year. Those are just kind of one-time expenses. And you can plan for those a little bit and you can budget for those, but the dollar amount is not necessarily known. And the timing isn't necessarily known either. So those are your 3 types of expenses that we're going to talk about today. So what I want you to do is I want you to open an Excel spreadsheet and create a column for each month. I have a spreadsheet that I'm going to give you at the end of the masterclass so that you don't have to necessarily recreate the wheel. And I want you to list out your expenses that will occur monthly, annually, and one time only. And what you're looking for here is, what is your monthly spend? What is the amount of money going out of your business that you are spending each month? And how much of a buffer do you want for unexpected expenses? If you know that on average you spend $500 a month, but you don't want to only leave $500 a month in your account, you would feel more comfortable with $700. How much of a buffer do you want for those unexpected expenses? And then the last step is, if you have all of this put together, you can fill out your estimated income, and that'll give you an idea of how much profit you have each month. So how much are you going to be able to pay yourself? So I'm going to toggle over here to this spreadsheet. Okay, so you're going to be able to fill this out. And I have this labeled here. We're going to start with monthly recurring expenses. And I want you to get really detailed here. So you can obviously change any of these categories. I just put some of them in here for you. But a good one is like software subscriptions. I would it would probably be most beneficial to you if you labeled out each software or each application that you have in detail so you can see exactly where your money's going, to know whether or not it's something that you want to keep or not. If you keep seeing a $9.99 charge for Spotify and you're like, oh gosh, I'm filling it in for every column, I don't need it, that's going to help trigger you to see that maybe you don't need to spend that money. So fill this out for your monthly recurring expenses. And then I have line items here for your annual or semi-annual expenses that you can put in. So if your insurance is due like in June, you could go over to the June column and type in your insurance for your business. And then one-time expenses, these are things that you are like, well, I would really like to go or start working with a coach in November. So I'm going to type in however much that's going to cost and see how that affects your profit. When you're doing this exercise, what you're really doing is kind of forecasting and budgeting. Even though, and it's easy, right? When I break it down like this, it's really easy. A lot of people think that that's something scary. And at the end of the day, it's all the gray cells are formulas. It'll give you net income or net profit. This is how much is going to be available to you to pay yourself in your business and save for taxes. Since you're filling out all of these expense categories, you might as well go ahead and put in some of your revenue stuff. How much revenue do you know you're going to have in certain months? If you are launching your coaching program and you know that on average, historically, you always make at least $5,000, then go ahead and type that in as known if you want to. If estimated, this is really cool, this column, this estimated column, because you can do like a what if analysis. It's like, well, what if I decided to also launch this course in addition and I made this much money? When you type those numbers in, it will directly by formula show you what your profit will be, so you know how much your business needs to keep to save for expenses and how much is available to pay you as an owner. So this worksheet is going to be really great. It's going to help you see where your money's going and see when it's going out, because again, if we looked at your profit and loss for the entire year, that's great to show what you made for the year and what you spent for the year. But when we're talking about consistency and paying yourself consistently, even when your revenue fluctuates, you need to know how much is going out on a monthly basis so you can make sure that you're covered even when you're not in the middle of a launch. Okay, so that is that one. Okay, next step. Why you need to save for taxes consistently and how doing this will make it so much easier for you to pay yourself from your business and how to pay yourself consistently from your business. It's really easy to look at your bank account and think, okay, I have this money in here, but I don't know how much I need to not spend for taxes, and I have to spend some for business expenses, and I don't know how much I really need to save for myself. So you just basically get in this pattern of not spending anything on yourself because that's the one that is the easiest to not pay. So saving for taxes consistently is going to be a game changer for you if you're not already doing this. So it's easy to think about taxes just once a year and put it off. The number one thing that I see businesses struggle with when it comes to taxes and savings for taxes is getting behind. It is so hard to get out of the hole with your tax bill. So if you owe money for previous years and you're trying to prepay for current years, you feel like that's all you're doing is paying taxes, and it can feel really defeating. So using this system, this is going to help you kind of get ahead of the game. So you're prepaying your taxes rather than trying to catch up from previous years. And instead of not knowing really how to do it, skipping it all together and hoping you're not screwed at tax time, or just trying to save a flat dollar amount every month, which can be hard. Like if your revenue fluctuates, it's hard to save the same dollar amount every single month. I'm going to show you a better way. So look at your deposits into your bank account each week. And I'm going to say each week a lot in this masterclass because doing things on a weekly basis makes it really easy, makes it repeatable. And honestly, it makes it more palatable to put money away for taxes when it's in little chunks rather than a big dollar amount. So what I do and what I coach my clients on is to look at your deposits each week and then transfer a flat percentage of what you make into a separate business tax savings account. And this is so great because if you're in the middle of a launch and you make more money, you're actually saving more for taxes. If you're not launching and maybe you're just getting payment plans and there's not as much coming in, then you're saving less on your, like, less money for your taxes. So you're not trying to come up with, like, if I said, hey, you have to pay $10,000 in January for taxes, you would be like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? But if you're doing a small percentage every single week, you're saving as you're making it, and it makes it so much easier. Plus, putting your tax savings money in a whole separate account keeps it out of sight, out of mind. And then when you look at your main bank account, it doesn't have your tax money in there, and you can see, oh, here's what I actually can afford to pay myself. I have more money available to spend than I actually thought I did. So it helps you increase your pay just by carving out the tax money and keeping it separate. So here's a visual of that two-step process that I just talked about. If you had your main business account and this week you had $1,050 deposited into it, and you decided that your tax savings percentage was going to be 20%, you would transfer $210 into your tax savings account and hold it there until you actually need to pay taxes. And that's the beauty of it, is it's still your money. You're not just taking $200 and sending it to the IRS. It's still your money until you actually have to pay taxes. And if you save too much, then it's still your money and you kind of have a bonus. If you didn't save enough, then at least you have something saved, and maybe you just need to bump up your percentage. So here's some action steps. What I want you to do is open a separate business savings account and call it tax savings. And then once a week, transfer a percentage of what's been deposited into your bank account as income to your tax savings account. Every business is so different. It's really hard for me to give you an exact percentage of what to save. I have clients who are saving 10%. I have clients that are saving 30%. So every business is so different. If you're just starting out and you haven't been saving anything, I would say start like 20% is maybe a good starting point. If you have a lot of expenses, if you have contractors that you're paying, you might get away with being a little bit lower at 15%. So that percentage might have to be adjusted based on your specific tax situation. But again, the way doing it with saving 8% of your revenues is amazing, because if you make more money, you save more. If you make less, you save less. All right, does this feel like it's all coming together for you? I hope that it is. We've talked about 3 really easy things that you can do to get a better handle on how much money you actually have to pay yourself. And I haven't once mentioned go out and work more. Thank goodness, right? All right, step 4. We're still on the tax arena, but this is, you must pay taxes, but there's no law that says you got to leave a tip. I love this quote. Paying taxes sucks. And it's a double-edged sword, because the more money you make, the more taxes you generally have to pay. But if there are some strategies that you can do and things that you can do in your business to pay less taxes legally and be compliant, then not. So when you're paying less to taxes, that means more money stays in your pocket, which ends up meaning that that's more money that you can actually pay yourself. So are you maximizing your tax deductions to ultimately pay less in taxes? Here are some things that you can do to help reduce your tax bill. The very first one is business structure. The way that your business is set up affects the way that you're taxed on your business income. You have an LLC, which is a really common way to set up your business, or you have like an S corporation, which is another common way. I'm talking about the 2 most common ways here. An LLC and an S corp, when you're paying taxes on your business income, you're paying 2 levels of tax, okay? 2 layers of tax. I'm going to keep this simple. With an LLC, you're paying federal and state income tax on the net profit of your LLC. And you're also paying self-employment tax on the net profit of your LLC. Self-employment tax is Social Security and Medicare tax, and you're paying it as a business owner, and you're paying it as an employee, because it's your business and you're the owner, and they say that your profit is essentially your wages. So you're paying 2 layers of tax on the entire profit of the LLC, federal and state income tax, and then self-employment tax. With an S corporation, you actually get to say, I want X amount to be given to me as a salary and only pay self-employment tax on that portion. The rest of the profit from your business is actually just taxed at, it doesn't have that self-employment tax portion. So you're still paying those two levels of tax, the income tax and the Social Security and Medicare tax, but you're only paying the Social Security and Medicare tax on what you decide your salary is, not the entire profit. So there is tax savings based on how you're organized. And if your business is making 40,000 or more in profit, that's usually my time when I tell my clients, like, hey, it's a good time to start thinking about this as corporation to see if it's going to help. And if you're an LLC right now, you can have an election to just be taxed as an S corporation. So you don't have to set up an entire new business or anything like that. It's actually a really simple process. But your tax structure, that's something that you can save a ton of money on if you do it right. The second one thing that you can do to help reduce your tax bill is keep good records and use an accounting software. If you are not keeping good records, I can guarantee you that you're missing out on deductions. If you don't use an accounting software and you are just manually entering everything into like an Excel, you could have excellent records, but you're still spending way too much time keeping your records for your business. If you can free up time doing bookkeeping and getting all your financial information in order, then you're going to be able to use that time doing something else. The other perk of an accounting software is you can have your financial information at your fingertips. You can classify your transactions and basically know exactly how much money you made, exactly how much you've spent, where you've spent it, and you don't have to do a lot of manual data entry to get it to that point. So if you're not using an accounting software, it's an absolute must. Plus, it will help you down the road if you decide to outsource to a bookkeeper or something like that to have an accounting software in place. I really like Wave for a free version. If you want something a little bit more robust, I really like QuickBooks Online. Those are the two that I recommend. And then the last thing that you can do to reduce your tax bill is to deduct all of your business expenses. If you're not sure if it's a business expense, ask. I have a lot of clients who ask me, hey, can I deduct this? And in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't you have thought that you couldn't deduct it? But there are things that you're spending money on in your business that you might not even think is a deduction. So I want to make sure that you're deducting as much as you can, obviously legally as much as you can. I'm going to give you some examples, and I also have a PDF of the most common tax deductions that I'm going to give you at the end of this masterclass too, just so you can make sure that you are taking advantage of the tax law and deducting your business expenses. So here's what I want you to do. Make sure you have a separate business bank account that you're only using for business expenses. Don't pay your business expenses with your personal money. Don't pay personal expenses with your business money. If you need money from your business to pay personal expenses, transfer a flat dollar amount over there and then do it from there. If you can keep your stuff separate, that's going to help you see exactly, what you're spending, when you're spending it, and you're not going to have any confusion. Use an accounting software. I just talked about this. Don't spend hours trying to keep track of everything in Excel. You're wasting a lot of time doing that. If you are, even if they're like great Excel reports, you're spending too much time doing it. Okay, let me get back here. Oops. Okay, if you're unsure if an expense is a business expense, make sure to ask. Ask your CPA, ask your tax preparer, ask me if you don't have one of those. So many things that you spend money on can be a deduction, like coaching and education. And it doesn't have to be directly related to your business. So for example, if you're a branding coach, you decided to work with me in coaching, even though I'm talking about money and taxes, you can still write that off as continuing education because it's helping you further your business. It doesn't have to be coaching only related to what your business is. So coaching and education, if you're reading self-help books that are helping you better your business, if you're doing any kind of education that's helping you be a better business person, that's all deductible. Your cell phone can be deductible. So I pay 100% of my cell phone bill from my business. And at the end of the year, when I do my taxes, I take a percentage off of the entire amount that I've paid and designate that as personal use. And the remainder is business use. And your cell phone is really common because you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're checking your email, you're constantly on your phone. So justifying your cell phone as a business expense is totally legit. So part of your home office can be taken as a deduction. So don't pay your personal home office expenses with your business money, but keep track of what you're paying in your rent and your mortgage interest, your real estate taxes, your home utilities, your internet. All of that can be used as a tax deduction when your tax return gets filed. Business travel and conferences, that's deductible. Meals while you're traveling, audiobooks, if they're business related audiobooks, those are really good examples. Photo shoot expenses, if you're buying props for photo shoots, if you're paying a photographer for a photo shoot, you can write that off. You can't write off your clothes because you can wear them kind of, out in normal life, but almost everything else related to a photo shoot, yes. And I like to say, if you're using it for your business, using it to help you in your business, or it's helping you further your business growth, then it can be a deduction. If you have questions on like, oh, I've been spending money on this, can it be a deduction? Write that down so you don't forget to ask. Okay, step 5. Learning how to create a schedule around your money will help you pay yourself more consistently without working more hours and even in between launches. As a business owner, it's really easy to think, it's all my money, so does it really matter? Or I can't afford to pay myself, I have to reinvest all my money back into my business. I just don't have money left over to pay myself, and I'll pay myself next time when there's more money in the account. It's really easy to go down that rabbit hole, but if you're thinking any of these things, then is it really all, it's really all my money, does it matter? Yes, it absolutely matters. You need to keep everything separate, and your business needs to pay you. You deserve to be paid from your business. I can't afford to pay myself, and I need to reinvest all my money back into my business. If you're just getting started, I can see that being a legit reason. If you've been in business a while and you're still not paying yourself and reinvesting all your money back into your business, like, is that sustainable? You need to start paying yourself, and you need to do it consistently. Otherwise, you're going to get burnt out. You're not going to enjoy the work that you're doing. If you don't have any money left over to pay yourself, you need to go back to exercise 1 and see what you're spending money on that isn't helping you reach your business goals. And if you don't have any money to cut, every expense that you have going out of your business is legit, and you still don't have money left over to pay yourself, look at your revenue. Are you charging enough? Do you need to increase your rates? If your business can't afford to pay you, then why are you in business? And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but you're not a charity, you're a business, and you need to be able to pay yourself so that you can continue to do the work that you do. And I'll pay myself next time when there's more money in the account. That's another one of just like, oh, I spent all my money and I have nothing left. So hopefully the tips that I'm going to talk about in the next couple of slides are going to help you with that. So you have to rethink these objections that we just talked about. You can't afford not to pay yourself. No money means no sustainable business. Review and rethink your current business outflows. Are they helping you reach your goals? And lastly, like when you start going down this rabbit hole of I can't afford to pay myself, would you work for someone else for what you're getting paid for right now? And would you work for them getting paid as frequently as you're getting paid now? Like, ask yourself, write that one down and ask yourself that when you start getting frustrated. Okay, why aren't you paying yourself what you want to? Why aren't you paying yourself as consistently as you want to? I want you to write this down and answer these questions. What do you currently do when you're flush with money versus not? So circling back to my tax season example, when I had money coming in during tax season, when I first got started in my business, I paid it to myself and I spent it. And then when I didn't have money, I'm like, oh, this isn't as fun. So I needed to figure out a different way. Are you treating your money differently when you have it versus not? And then lastly, what do you want to get paid from your business? What would be your ideal pay from your business? And maybe what you would love to get paid from your business isn't necessarily where you're at in your business right now, but that's a goal and you can work towards that. So what is reasonable? What can your business afford? What would you love to get paid from your business? So similar to the tax savings account example, what I do in order to kind of hold my money and drip it to me so I get paid consistently all year is I have another business savings account called Owner's Pay. And I allocate a percentage of my income each week into this account. So I do my tax allocation, and then I take a percentage of my deposits and I put it into my owner's pay holding account. And I do it on the same day each week. And then from there, I transfer a flat dollar amount from this new owner's pay savings account to my personal account, and that's my consistent salary. So if I have a big launch, I have more money in that owner's pay account, and I know that I can pay myself for how many weeks based on what's in there, flat dollar amount. So you're dripping that money to you in equal installments on the same day, at the same time, etc. Here's a visual. So if you have a main business account and you have $1,050 in there, you transfer 20% to tax savings already. So 40% in this example is going to go to your owner's pay account, and that's going to be your temporary holding account. And then on whatever frequency you decide, in this example, it's a week, each week you would pay yourself $200. So you would drip $200 to yourself over 2 weeks rather than $420 all at once. So creating a system where you're getting consistent about this and creating a schedule around when you're going to get paid helps you increase your salary. It also feels so much better to pay yourself a consistent amount each month or each week, rather than just taking money randomly when you have it and feeling stressed about money all the time. So using this process, you're using your money to cover you, like when you are flush with your money, to cover you when you're not flush with your money. Okay, so a case study, I worked with Reagan, and when we first started working together, she was like, I have this money and I want to pay myself regularly. What does this even look like? And I want to make sure that I'm secure. So what she was running into was she had all of her money in one account and didn't know how much she could afford to drip herself on a consistent basis and how that even looked, what that process even looked like. So we opened up a separate account, and then we started dripping her salary to her, and now she feels a lot better about what's happening. Okay, bonus step number 6. I can't do this with this masterclass without mentioning this bonus step, is make a money date with yourself. This is so important. If you set a money date with yourself, I do my stuff on a weekly basis. I encourage all of my clients to do it on a weekly basis, because you're building repeatable habits and you remember what you did because you just did it a week ago. So in your calendar, set a money date with yourself once a week for an hour. And you have an hour to do this. You can definitely get it done in an hour. And it's the same time, same day, every single week. So this is an appointment that you cannot break. It's something like if you had a client appointment, you wouldn't break it. Treat this the same way. And then start building a checklist of what you do when you do your money stuff. That way, when you sit down for this appointment with yourself, you're not spending 10 minutes thinking, gosh, what am I even doing here? Like, start writing it down and building a checklist of what you do first, second, third, and then repeat it each week. And you can also refine what you're doing. Here's an example of my checklist. I log into my bank account, I look at my total deposits, then I allocate my money, I transfer the money to all my savings accounts, I pay my credit card bill, I open up my QuickBooks and I do my bookkeeping, and then I review my profit and loss report, and I look at upcoming income expenses. What am I anticipating happening in the next month or so? When I sit down and do my money stuff, it takes at the longest maybe in half hour, if that's if I'm digging into the profit and loss. But to actually do the allocations and stuff, it takes like 15 minutes max. So I do the same thing on the same day, in the same order every single time. So if you do this, this will help you feel so much more comfortable with what's happening with your money. Okay, that's the end almost. So just to recap, what we learned today is how and why to focus on increasing your profit. We learned what your business can afford to pay you and why that's important to look at it on a monthly basis. How and why to save for taxes consistently. Saving for taxes is so much easier than trying to come up with a big dollar amount at the end of the year. Fourth, how minimizing your tax obligation will translate into increased profit. And lastly, why creating a schedule for paying yourself feels so much better than randomly taking money when you need it. You could pay yourself at the end of the day the same exact salary if you did it consistently or not consistently, but I guarantee you, you will feel so much better if it was a consistent amount that you can count on, plan on, and all of that stuff. So you're here today because you want to pay yourself more from your business without having to chase the next sale or work more hours. Your plate is already full. You don't want to have to work 24/7 to make more money. You want to make more money without having to take on work that you don't enjoy, just so you can balance out the slow cash flow between launches. Saying yes to something that you don't really want to do never feels good, and you always feel resentful. And if you're able to manage your money so that you're not having to pick up work that you don't want to do in between launches, it's going to be so much better for your health and for your spirit in your business and all of that stuff. And you want a simple, easy to follow system because you're smart enough to do it. You just need to be shown what to do. When I work with all of my clients, they say, oh, I feel so dumb about money. And it's like, you're not dumb about money. When you went to school, no one taught you about money. No one taught you how to do the business, the money in your business. And you just need a system. And I know that because I'm a CPA. They didn't teach me how to manage my money for my business when I was in college either. It's just not something, it's something we're all expected to do, but it's nobody really knows where to start. So now is your time. It's time to stop avoiding the money part of your business and hoping it will magically get better when the next sale comes in. And it's time for you to step into being the CEO of your money. You can do this. You can do it with all of the tools and tips that we talked about today. Everything that I shared with you today is not some sort of secret. It's nothing that you can't spend hours going down the YouTube and the Google route. But if you want to learn how to do it today and you want to create a system that is sustainable, that you can feel comfortable and confident with your money, then I want to share with you a little bit about my group coach, or not my group coaching program. Geez, I want to share with you a little bit about my coaching program. It's called Consistent and Confident, and it's Pay Yourself More from Your Business Coaching Program. And what you get in this coaching program is 8 one-on-one calls with me, and they're recorded for future access. You get 8 weeks of support through Voxer and email, and then you get as many checklists and templates that you need so that you can continue this process after it ends. This isn't something where you watch pre-recorded videos and then you check in with me. This is all one-on-one support that is specific to your business and your specific needs. So what you will achieve after us working together for 8 weeks is you'll have a system for paying yourself that feels good and aligned with how your business operates. When I talked earlier about finding a percentage of your revenue that you want to pay yourself, we dig into what your exact percentage is. How much can your business afford to pay you? What do you want to do for savings in your business? How do you want that all to look? And it's all specific to you. You know what your business can afford to pay you right now. You'll know what your business can afford to pay you in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, because I'll show you how to look at those numbers and tweak it and feel good with what you're paying yourself. We'll also dig into taxes as a business owner and how to minimize your liability and how much you should be saving for taxes based on your specific situation. I know I gave like a general 15 to 20% as a good starting point. We will dig in and look at what you actually need to save for taxes and how to do that. You'll create an easy, repeatable system around your money. So when we are done working together, you can do this by yourself. I wholeheartedly know that you can do this by yourself after we are done working together. And you'll finally feel like the CEO of your business money. You will feel confident with your money. You will know that you're making good financial decisions, and it's not something that you will run and hide from anymore. So over 8 weeks, I have a general framework that we cover. Obviously, if there's anything else that you have questions on during our 8 weeks, we can definitely cover it. But the very first week, we talk about your foundations. What do you have going on for record keeping, bookkeeping, bank accounts? Like all of that foundational work really needs to be set up before we can start working on the other weeks. We also work on getting your extra savings accounts that I mentioned in this masterclass set up in that week 1. Second week is we work on paying yourself consistently. I go behind the scenes and I help you figure out exactly how much your business can afford to pay you, what your percentage is that you can transfer to owner's pay and not have to worry about being short covering yourself for expenses or anything like that. Week 3, we dig into systems and checklists. So we start building those systems and checklists so that when we're done working together, you are able to do this by yourself. Week 4 is an implementation week. We'll still have a one-on-one call, but we'll just be cleaning up the loose ends from any of the previous weeks. Week 5, we're going to look at your taxes, your tax deductions, your tax situation, how your business is structured to make sure you're paying less in taxes than you actually have been, making sure you're taking advantages of all the things that you are entitled to take advantage of for taxes. Week 6, we're going to dig into revenue goals and pricing for profit. This is a really fun segment, is looking at what you're making now, what do you want to be making, how are you pricing your programs to make sure that you can pay yourself what you want to pay yourself so that you're saving for taxes what you need to be saving for taxes, and digging into really making sure that you're pricing your services and your packages in a way that you're able to reach all of your other financial business goals. Week 7 is implementation. Also, usually the revenue and the pricing for profit kind of bleeds into that week. So that's another implementation week. Again, we'll have a one-on-one call, but it's more just kind of revisiting the prior topics that we've covered. And week 8 is financial statements and budgeting. I know it sounds really boring, but it's not. When you learn how to look at your financial statements and look at what your numbers are telling you, you are stepping into the CEO role and being able to make really good informed financial decisions, so that when you are considering investing in coaching or investing in a conference, or you need new equipment, you know that you're doing it at the right time based on what your numbers are telling you. So you're going to be able to make really informed financial decisions rather than spending the money and hoping it's okay, or not spending the money but really wanting to. And then the budgeting, we kind of touched upon budgeting when we talked about figuring out what your monthly spend was, but really getting to budgeting and forecasting and doing some what if analysis. Here's how much you're making now. What if you did this, this, and this? How would that affect your profit? How would that affect your taxes, etc.? So we're really getting a holistic view of your money, and it's not just taxes and it's not just profit. It's just kind of the whole package, being able to look at all of these things and then feel really good about your money situation. I know that this program is so valuable and puts so much less pressure on you as a business owner, because you have this taken care of. And I'm not ever asking you to learn an entire new trade like accounting. So I make it really easy and I break it down into simple steps. Okay, so if you're ready to get started, if you think this program sounds interesting, if you want more information, if you want to hop on a call with me to talk about how it would affect your business personally and what that would look like, I do have an application. It's a really just short application. And it's at megnos.com/application. So you can go ahead and go there, fill out the application. You'll set up a time to do just a quick 15-minute meet and greet call, and we can chat more about your business and what this program would look like for your business. One more case study, we're almost done. When I worked with Reagan in this program, she basically said she walked away with a lot of takeaways, and the biggest ones to me is every Friday now I get to do my numbers and I'm not stressed out about it. I actually like it. I can allocate my money and I know exactly how to do it. Megan set up a formula so I didn't even have to think about it. It's amazing. And then I also like just knowing I'm safe and secure. And so being able to be a month ahead of my expenses, but still be able to pay myself every 2 weeks has been huge. So when I first started working with Reagan, she had all of her money in a bank account and wasn't spending it because she was afraid to mess something up. And now she's saving for taxes. She's paying herself regularly. She knows that she's a month ahead of on expenses. So she's budgeting and she's planning and implementing all the things that I talked about that we cover in the 8-week program. Okay, what's the investment? This is a question that you probably have. And for the 8-week program, It is a one-time payment of $24.97 or 2 payments of $12.85, one deposit and then one halfway through the program. And the good news is this is a tax deduction, so I have to throw that in there on the CPA. I can't help myself. But this is the investment for the 8-week program. And again, I know that this is something that isn't like super bright and shiny like a new website, but I know that it could really change your business. And I promise you that I'm not going to send you a million emails with like time expire, hard sell kind of things about this pricing and about this program. This is what it is. If it's right for you, then great. I would be so excited to work with you. And if it's not the right time for you now, that's totally fine. I really do appreciate you staying on the entire masterclass with me. So again, here's the application link, megnos.com/application if you want to fill out an application. And filling out an application doesn't mean that you're saying, yes, I'm in. It's saying, maybe I still have some questions. Just fill it out and we can set up a time to connect. And to wrap up, I promised you all of those freebies. So the link to access your freebies is megnos.com/freebies. There's 3 of them in there and you can go ahead and download those. It's the checklist on how to label your expenses so you can increase your profit starting today. It's the Excel template so you can figure out what your monthly outflow is and kind of do some of that budgeting and planning. And then a list of some of the most common tax deductions. So thank you so much for staying until the end. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at megan@megnos.com. If you want to fill out an application to see how we can see if this program is right for your business, here is the link again. It's megnos.com/application. So thank you again so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad you were here. And if you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. Thanks again. Bye.